You are listening to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. This show is dedicated to those who live and love from the heart in infinite ways. In today's episode, we will discuss, share, gain insights, and get clarity on the wisdom and teachings of the mystic and seer Almin, as well as discover more about the miraculous healing modality called Belvaspata. Your host for this show is Paul.
Hello everyone, this is your host Paul and you are listening to Radio Belvaspata South Africa's episode for Thursday the 1st of June 2017. Yes, June already. In just a few weeks we're halfway through our calendar year and things seem to be moving along quite swiftly. What is amazing me is the amount of work that needs to be done within the self, the amount of work that is coming through the teachings of the mystic and seer Almin, and the amount of work that is going on within our light family, not just here within South Africa, but around the globe. I'm privileged to be, privy to the information from all of you in terms of being able to see what's going on your Facebook pages, to be in contact with you via Messenger, to be in contact with you via our WhatsApp groups and emails. And it just really is fascinating what is going on and watching everybody and just looking at the authenticity that everybody is living in and working with, and just the openness and the trust that we have all developed with each other as we share our day-to-day experiences. Absolutely incredible. Today's theme is really quite deep, and we're going to go into some of the aspects of what it is to see what existence is all about, what we are living in, what we are creating, what we are bringing in, and what we are also working through. And as usual, our show is a place for each one of us just to sit together for a quiet hour of solitude, of being together in a sense of oneness, and just understanding the depth of the work that we are doing is no small thing. The theme is called Respect Existence or Expect Resistance, something that's going to be very, very interesting for us to look at. The mystic and seer Almin tells us that resistance to evolution from within means that progression of evolution takes place in a step up and then hits a plateau. During the plateau, the old doesn't make sense anymore, but you haven't yet reached the fulfillment of the new. Isn't that amazing? Doesn't that absolutely describe where we are at any one particular moment? As we go through the show today, we're going to be talking about some of the excerpts from the latest webinar that happened on the weekend, Activating the Portals of Limitlessness and Living a Life with No Limitations. And I know each one of us can see that manifesting for ourselves, although as Almin has just detailed it in her piece of wisdom there, that we might not all have reached that point of full understanding, or shall I say full experience, but it is definitely within our planes of existence, with our planes of perception, the ability that life is unfolding anew and each one is going along with it. So our beautiful master Diane has chosen a song for us tonight and we're going to go with it. It's the Glee version of Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming round. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of listening to the sound of my tears. Every now and then I get a little bit nervous that the best of all the years have gone by. Every now and then I get a little bit terrified, and then I see the look in your eyes. Every now and then I fall apart. Never be wrong. Together we can take it to the end of the line. eclipse of the heart. Once upon a time there was light in my life. Now there's only love in the dark. Nothing I can say, total eclipse of the heart. Nothing I can do, total eclipse of the heart. Total eclipse of the heart. A total eclipse of the heart. Turn around, bright eyes.
And there we were listening to Total Eclipse of the Heart from the Glee TV series. The beautiful cosmic mantra of the day really describes the theme of the show, and I think the theme of the week. June the 1st today says, rooted in an endless relationship with myself, I boldly embrace the transient relationships with others. The webinar Activating the Portals of Limitlessness and Living a Life with No Limitations has produced some incredible comments, and Diane and myself were sharing some of the aspects of that particular webinar this week, and just some of the comments that have come out about opening up these 8 portals of limitlessness, that when the eyes of innocence start to see the perfection behind the appearances, the concept of progress becomes meaningless. There's no more work to do when you've done all of that. And also about seizing the torment of continual self-correction by trusting the clear and effortless revelation of your next step. And there was another comment that's been put in here as well. Absolutely incredible. Trusting the body's self-maintenance through eternal self-rejuvenation. You know, what's always fascinating is that when we start to put the show together, it takes a week to put it together. And really, it's just a combination of everybody's work from within, Team Belvaspatar, and also with all the Almin Light family around the world, because I just take that information, others share that information with us, and then we put it together, and then we get this kind of process coming up. And we often look at the content that we've put together, and as we merge it together, really fascinating to see that we're all on that same theme, but again, from our own perspective. And that's a very interesting process that we are going with along the way. A question was posed to Almin that says to her, for as long as I can remember, I've had this thing where I see flashes of gruesome torture in my mind's eye. It feels as if it's coming from outside. Lately, it has become quite the visceral experience. visceral experience, making me physically recoil and grimace. Once I asked you about something like this, and you said it's mind control, though this seems to be different, but related. Almin answered, just this morning, I started to work on my becoming impervious to the deliberate programming of what I see, think, and experience. Yes, it is programming from an external source. I can clearly see the beings that are doing this. Although they're not able to come into our quarantine earth fields, they are actually beaming this from outside our solar system. They are almost entirely black with scaly skin and extremely malevolent reptilian-like features. And the purpose? If they can beam this at the populace and have them become savage enough to wipe themselves out, the planet would once again be open enough for them to take. Your daily practice of the resurrection Merkaba has made the subliminal programming more noticeable so that resolution can take place. What has to be done to become impervious to such attempts is to see where in your life you have a misconception you use to excuse certain behavior. And Almin then gives us an example. She says, what I found in myself is, I serve my daughter breakfast in bed. I bring her folded clean laundry to her room. I feed her dog in the mornings so she can get out of the house in time, etc. I do this because I rationalize that I'm creating a nurturing environment in a hostile world. But the more she's taken care of, the more I prevent her from developing robustness to deal with the world. I mean, we understand that quite fully. She says that if I look beyond the rationalization, I realize that I'm doing it for me. I'm scared that the reverent and gentle way I've raised her, this is without the usual chit-chat that people do, has been like an ashram, that she will have a hard time later. So I'm compensating for it now. In other words, my actions are based on lack of trust. Number 2, she says, I love doing homemaking. So yet again, it brings me satisfaction and is therefore really just for me. So yeah, we're fully understanding this. And also beautiful to know that a mystic and seer such as Almin also has these day-to-day processes going on, in which you can actually write the word, I'm scared of something. It means, that she's processing and looking at all from different understandings and having to work on things just like you and I are doing. And then, of course, she'll go and check cosmically what is going on and share that with us at the same time. So unusual, but also completely unusual. Incredible journey that we're all walking on. And have you really noticed for yourself the inner rhythms of processes that perhaps things are absolutely changing and processing for you, yet you're still dealing with the old processes, but in a very different way. And then what you're also doing at the same time, you're trusting the future, you're trusting what tomorrow will bring, and you know that you've just got to focus on living in absolute trust in this particular moment and do your best and just be open to it. And of course, not resist anything else that existence is trying to teach you. And my big question for today is, how do we see our own existence? How do we see our own lives? And in what format? Is it based on past programming, or is it based on the present moment? One of the things that I could suggest that we do is, in terms of our own behavior, is that we sometimes ignore all these particular processes and teachings that are available to us. We choose to do other things, and this makes us hold on to the fear programming and beliefs of the past. And I think Almin just taught us there just a few moments ago, really about understanding that there are processes going on and we are working with the programming. So we'll develop this conversation in a little while. But first of all, what we're going to listen to is a beautiful track by the Master Diane, who sometimes in studio with me as well, and she's given us some of her insights to actually look at and understand from her perspective today.
Good evening, Paul and all our listeners out there. Our topic tonight of why our internal resistance to accepting the new frequencies is causing so much havoc seems to be spot on in terms of what is happening microcosmically and macrocosmically. The first question that comes to mind is, why do we resist? Why are we not more receptive? To be more receptive, it seems that we have to be less of who we are. Those things that we pride ourselves on, why we are so good, so intelligent, so organized, so handsome, it seems that they have to be reduced. working through those illusions that say we must fix, we must save, we must hold on to. We need to let go of them. And I think if we do, then possibly it will aid our receptivity. On reading the predictions for this week, and I'm sure many of you have, the emphasis is on weeding something toxic out of our lives. And it seems that what needs to be weeded is, for example, an obsolete coping mechanism, a viewpoint that we cling to, incompatible players in our environment. And once again, surrendered allowing seems to be the way through these illusions. Around us, people too seem to feel the desperation at the destructuring of our environment, the way the quality of life is degraded, the feeling sometimes of just being a cog in a wheel. The note of caution here, however, I presume, is that we cannot condemn or damn industrialization or those feelings of hopelessness. Always, I think, we need to look within, at the depletion within, at the degradation within. Almin talks in Messages for Lightworkers this week about anger and how it originates in the heart, and then it moves along the pathways in the body to lodge in other organs. Now we know that when the meridian system is functioning at a higher level, we become the bridge to a life of no opposites. Let's look at the heart meridian again. Let's look at how it functions when it's blocked and dysfunctional. And we see those emotions then that are manifested in a distorted way. When the heart meridian is blocked and dysfunctional, we experience the pain of joylessness, the pain of self-pity. We feel like victims, that the world is merciless. We feel that there is always a price to pay. We experience the pain of neediness, of believing the illusion that there can be loss or a lack of anything. Now, when all this pain is experienced, anger is what is manifested, and injury from that anger occurs. We feel the anger that, damn, life will not yield. We think that everything is outside ourselves, that we are separate from. So then the attachment to things external become obsessive. I'm reminded of those 144 illusions of separation that cause constriction in the lines of our etheric body, that form the 144 acupuncture points, and how then our chakra system is influenced and our meridians are negatively influenced. So it seems that we need to experience unconditional joy in the moment and to realize that we are the conductors of the orchestra of our lives. And so it seems that resistance dissolves, and we can then take on the new frequencies of a resurrected life, a life of boundlessness. The eclipse of the heart has passed. The neediness, the joylessness has dissolved, and it seems that limitlessness is born. How wonderful is that?
And there was the Master Diane really just sharing with us deep from her heart some of her own experiences and her own musings and insight that she's gained in the journey along the way here. Really fascinating and so beautifully put. Thank you, Diane, for sharing that. So back to what has been happening in the Almin webinar this last weekend about living life with no limitation. Earlier I read out some of the principles of high magic, number 105. that were actually brought up in this particular webinar. I'm just going to connect them with one or two things along the way here. And I'm just going to ask yourself, which of these are you actually experiencing at this moment or can really recognize for yourself? Because I've got a lot of them going, but then I've also got some internal resistance to some of the processes, either on a mental or an emotional or physical level going on. Having come now from the last month or so, from extreme exhaustion and resistance to doing anything, to suddenly seeing an opening boundlessness of energy and processes coming up, absolutely exciting. And just standing on this bridge of no time between the two has brought me an immense amount of insight. And I'm really grateful that I'm able just to perceive that for myself in whichever small way it is. But that's the way it is for me. And I'm wondering what it's like for you. Have a listen to this. Which one of these 8 particular principles of high magic are you getting? And then we'll go into some of the ways in which memories are kept. So, number 1 is receptiveness to boundless abundance. Number 2, expecting manifestation that corresponds to intent. Got that going. Experiencing ever-expanding horizons of the future. Ticket. Living the miracle of closing the gap between cause and effect. Oh yes. Trusting the body's self-maintenance through eternal self-rejuvenation. Yep. Releasing all relationship ties that bind by acknowledging the transient flow of others through your eternal life. Tick. Seizing the torment of continual self-correction by trusting the clear and effortless revelation of your next step. And number 8, when we are the eyes of the infinite, we start to see the perfection behind appearances, and the concept of progress becomes meaningless. Isn't that absolutely just incredible? So we'll get back to it in a little while, and of course that's a subscription-only webinar, so we can't go into much more details about it, but I'm sure that much of the Light family has been enjoying and sharing a lot of that. So let's look at the way in which another 8 ways in which memories are kept within, and these are as given to us by the Seer Almin. And as we work through all of these, let's look at those particular processes for ourselves and find out the work that it is that we need to do within and in our day-to-day lives and in our own experience that would release us and would allow us then to go and experience some of these principles of high magic, or those 8 principles as is being brought forward in this webinar on activating the portals of limitlessness. So here's the 8 ways in which memories are kept. And the first one is cellular memory. And the function has been to place short-term memories into long-term memory patterns. Memories are held in the membrane around the nucleus. So I'm seeing for myself that there is a difference between short-term memory and grasping a process and long-term memory and being able to understand it. The second one is instinctual memory, emergency responses that are held in the 3rd chakra. And then the next one is racial memory, stored in the chakra, located a hand's length into the ground beneath your feet. Racial memories determine danger assessment. Very pertinent for many of us here within South Africa as we work through the myriad of changes and the extreme processes of life that we see in all its different forms. Again, remembering resistance to existence will bring us into another complete experience altogether. And the next one is membranes between realities, which is held in the psoas muscle. It keeps memories of passages between life, death, and ascension, and awake and dream states. The next one is the membranes of the eye and optic nerve. Remember what has been seen. And then the next one is membranes of the ears. Remember what has been heard. So there's some of the different principles and 8 ways in which memories are kept within us. And of course, if you've been following the teachings of this year, I mean, you are doing the sattva, the Devi Sattva yoga processes and working with a lot of those, because each one of those releases into the next, into the next, into the next, and creates a sequence of releasing and manifesting into new experiences. Absolutely incredible as we look at all of those that are going along. So there's also for these things like taste buds that remember our value judgments of good and bad, as in I like or I don't like. And all hair on the skin holds memories of extra sensory experiences, and is that which happens out of a range of perception. Almin tells us that the sense of smell never fell into duality, so we should let fragrant oils heal the storage of old memories. Not sure about you, but here in South Africa we've been putting a lot of eucalyptus into our vaporizer and atomizer, and that's been releasing a whole lot of other processes too. The Seer Almin tells us that if we accept that we live in an incomprehensible universe, then we stay open and we flow with life. If an obstacle comes up, we flow around it. We have no expectations of the world. We are innocently experiencing life as we go along. So this leads us now into what the 7 perspectives of the feminine play what's called a central role in the high magic process. But unlike the masculine perspectives of external space, it's not always so obvious how to have a perspective of inner space. Almin explains that the first perspective, which is the adventurous perspective, is a nice way to learn how. Let's listen to the Seer Almin now as she tells us about the 7 perspectives of the feminine, which is a tool of high magic. And this is the year of high magic, of course.
The first thing to note about the importance of the 7 perspectives of the feminine is that it is very, very major in the role that it plays in high magic. In high magic, the 7 perspectives of the masculine and the 7 perspectives of the feminine need to be equally lived. The 7 perspectives of the feminine is from inner space, and we have not always got the knowledge of how to have an inner space perspective, because the perspectives of the masculine that we usually look at, they're all almost a lens through which mind observes life. The lens has different facets, 7 different facets. Life looks a little different if you look through any particular facet. But it is a mind-operated perspective. So how is perspective in inner space? It is a feeling. And when you look at the very first perspective, which is the adventurous perspective, one tends to think that really that should be a masculine one. It's a way the mind looks at life. Why is this the first of the 7 feminine inner perspectives? Because the adventurous perspective is a really nice way to learn to have an inner perspective. And if you can get it with that one, normally the remaining 6 are easier. So let me explain. The adventurous perspective, if you're going on an adventure, you're feeling an exhilaration within. You're feeling an anticipation within. You're feeling it's mixed with feelings of hope, with feelings of glad expectations, with feelings that good things are coming, but it is a feeling that it makes. So to learn to do inner perspectives, practice thinking of an adventure you want to go on, and make sure that in your thoughts this adventure is completely, perfectly safe. It's just unknown. So let's say you're going on a photographic safari in Africa. Well, you'll be in a closed vehicle, there will be an experienced driver, but still, you don't know what you will encounter, whether there's 2 lions fighting or a giraffe being attacked, or what you will catch on your camera. So unknown factors makes it an adventure, and the safety makes it a nice adventure. Think up some scenario like that and really put the details in during a meditation, so that eventually there is this feeling of excited anticipation inside. The adventurous perspective, once you have felt it for what you've conjured up in your mind, think of feeling that about your day, because the day is a completely unknown territory. it is like a fluid expression of yourself, but you don't know how it's going to turn out or in what form. It's like a safari. Then try and keep that excited feeling and think about the day. Think about wonderful things happening in that day. Now you're starting to realize what an inner perspective is. It is a feeling of something.
And you're back in studio with Radio Belvaspatar South Africa. Thank you for staying with us, and thank you for tuning in each week to share some time. We really appreciate you being with us. And of course, if you've got any comments to make, you can do so now on the Spreaker.com's page that you're on at this moment in time. And please also remember to press the follow button so that you know that we are up on air every week, Thursday night live. But of course, then it is podcast formatted through YouTube and onto Spreakers.com, and so you can follow us and listen to us right through the week. And that's where we are finding many of our family from around the world are joining us throughout the week. And obviously the time frames between ourselves here in Johannesburg and those in the Northern Hemisphere plays a role in all of that. But it's great to have you along either live or in the podcast format. Please share with us some more. There, Almeen was telling us about the 7 perspectives of the feminine, and really just teaching us and working with us and showing us how to create the sense of being the adventurer and looking forward to creating these new levels of boundlessness and just creating the perspective of great adventure in our lives. And that I find incredibly supportive, because it has been a myriad tumbleweed kind of time where so much has been in conflict, and yet rising above all of that. Absolutely incredible process that is happening as the mind shifts, as the emotion shifts, as we live in the high heart, and as we manifest these times of high magic. So the Facebook Light Family connection is very live, and Malui Wittisrose shares with us all the way from high up there in the Arctic Circle. She says, keeping yourself under the radar and hanging back in the shadows does nothing to serve humanity. As others in your environment are really reflections or expressions, depending on what state of spiritual mastery you are in, of yourself, it makes sense that they will stay in darkness and lower consciousness states. If you stay there with them through misunderstood empathy and false humility. Stepping into your true form and shining your light brightly does not dim that of others. Rather, it strengthens it through its resonance. It activates within others the same quality of light and frequency that you emit through your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Why then do some people turn angry or negative towards you the more loving and light-filled you seem to become? One of the reasons is that the higher vibrating energies beamed towards a person can actually make him or her feel uncomfortable, as old traumas, blockages, suppressed anger, and feelings of abandonment may surface within them. It comes up for resolution, and many people do not want to deal with that. They are familiar with denser states of being, for example, caused by drama and tension, and will seek to recreate that with you. As you walk the ascension path and raise your consciousness, energetic lines emitted from your heart area will start to open up and affect others' energetic fields. At first, their lines bend inwardly, but eventually a spark of light will ignite their flame of desire to release that which weighs them down, and it triggers a series of experiences for them as they awaken to the truth within. So keep on shining. Keep walking that spiritual path of yours to follow and express through your loving heart. And that's with love from Malu. Isn't that amazing just to look at it? But it also highlights the aspects of seeing existence for what it is and not living in the old paradigms, the old memories of self, not living in an identity that we created for ourselves as being real, and really seeing that we have to master the ability to live in the status quo of what today is. I know there's something that resonates very deeply within me and helps me. It's like a mantra that keeps going on with me when I get stuck in a particular process or place or experience, and I keep saying to myself that tomorrow is not today and today was not yesterday, that things did shift and things alter, and that the only thing I need to do is just trust myself to be able to walk through those particular experiences and details, and then move into whatever awaits for me in the next particular moment. I wish, though, that my smartphone did work properly. It doesn't seem to want to work anymore, and there are immense times where I'm looking for a concrete wall to throw it at, but it's lucky it has survived to this particular point. Right, so let's look a little bit now with Almina. She talks to us now about inspiration and regeneration, which is definitely part of this journey. It's an old audio clip, but absolutely relevant for where we're at. And when we come back, we'll see if we've got any comments that we can answer and go into other parts of the show. Stay with us as we listen to the Seer Almine talk about inspiration and regeneration.
Now, if we look at why is it our sustenance, life is never successful when we are not fully present. Now, what does that mean? Either in the psyche or in the body. If we avoid the feeling of the body by living without it, it brings disease, it brings all sorts of failures in our life. This subconscious, we have said, is in a whole other reality. What it can be equated to is the roots below the soil of the plant. In conscious harvesting of vegetables or flowers, you have to cut the flower but not lay it back on the earth, because the earth takes the energy out of it. In humans, this manifests as aging. So if you want to have the self-regenerative system, you need all four these components. The self-regenerative system says that you are not cut off like a plant from your roots, leaking your energy out to gravity which the earth exerts on you. So it is a form of self-sustenance. It is that which supports eternal regeneration of your cells. It is that which guides you, and it is that which inspires you. And so, my loves, I want to highly recommend that we tackle this. How do we purify it? Number one, the living of the wildish nature, allowing it to come out. Women have often complained that the men in their lives are intimidated when they let it out, that they seem to be afraid of it. Men have often complained that if during, for example, intimacy, they get more raw, shall we say, with the woman, that she sees it as something that is an attack, and he's scared that she will misinterpret it. So these miscommunications between the sexes, to heck with it. To heck with it. Somebody misunderstands you, they misunderstand you. Live authentically. Study the 99 principles of brilliance, which incidentally is part of the God kingdom, but the brilliance is fueled by wild women and the adventurer. It is fueled by that. Excellence only comes when you draw your strength all the way from your roots. And this is your root. The subconscious that we have been afraid of, that we have shut down, that we did not want to look at. This is our subconscious. We have to let our stories go. They dissolve, as you said earlier, they dissolve the membranes. Release the stories of your life. That you can be born anew like a child on an adventure every moment. Release the stories. Keep the inspiration.
And there the Seer Almin was talking all about inspiration and regeneration and talking about living in the aspects of God consciousness. Nick and I were having a chat pre-show earlier and really just talking about the effort that is needed to live in full consciousness of the minute of what one is and not keep working towards becoming something. Actually accepting all of these particular processes and no longer resisting what belonged to the past. Because we all have this formed identity about ourselves very, very deep down. And that is linked to the aspects of the subpersonalities. And I know within, Team Belvaspita within South Africa, since 2008, we've all been really working on it intensely. And a lot of our radio shows have focused on the aspects of discussion around how the different parts of the internal inner family and subpersonality and the roles that they play. So just have a look at that for yourself. See where you're stuck in terms of how you see yourself and allow yourself then to just look a little bit deeper and release all of that so that today, tomorrow, you become something new and then the next day allow whatever that is coming up. And there Almin was just saying, to heck with it. So we must dare ourselves to put a show together and we're going to call it To Heck With It and just say and do whatever we're going to be saying and doing. And we know that you'll stay with us because you'll be going to heck with it. So there's your buzzword and your own mantra for the next few days. To heck with it. Do what makes you happy and do what makes you feel good for yourself and not necessarily around anybody else's desires or programming. So Darshana has sent an interesting message. She's saying, hi, is there a connection between the memory loss I've been experiencing lately and the mind shifts you are talking about on today's show? It almost feels that a large part of my memory has been wiped. And she says, even the once basic known concepts elude me sometime. So Darsh, absolutely interesting question. Thank you for posing that. I think you and I have had some conversations as well around these things. It's very similar to the point where I've noticed is that, I can remember long-term conversations. I can have all of those processes going on. But what I often don't really get right is when I'm having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, I just cannot finish my sentences. I cannot complete my words. I have to actually sit down and stop what I'm doing and look at that person and literally give them my full attention in order to be able to respond fully and properly. So even though I'm multitasking on so many different levels, I still have to stop what I'm doing and I'm focusing just in terms of creating that process of, listening to actually listen and not just answer. And really understand the dynamics of the person that I'm having a discussion with. But if I get up and walk or have to do something else through the middle of it, I cannot finish that. It's as if the memory does not allow me then to continue. But I think what you're sharing about is that your memory that you're looking at, and remember we spoke earlier about the 8 aspects of memory, is those are definitely being cleared away because they are now no longer needed within our lives. And so what is superfluous for all of us is no longer necessary, and so it must go. I think the danger zone for many of us could be that we think that there's something wrong with that was part of our identity, and so we think that there is a loss being adjusted to, and we need to maybe fill the gap, but literally it's a process of trust and allowing ourselves just to be in the fullness of the moment and understanding there's no right and wrong, there's just simply where we are at. But let's chat about this as well at some point, and thanks very much for taking the time to send that comment in. Memories, hey? We should have actually played the song Memories on the show tonight as well, but we won't do that and put everybody through it. So Almeen tells us, now listen to this, this is quite interesting. Beauty surrounds us every moment if we will only recognize it and set aside our conditioned judgment and programming. It may also exist in what we have been taught to reject as unworthy or uninteresting. But these things are also part of creation and are deserving of our understanding for their purpose. So let me turn the tune of the show just a little bit. Did you know that the US president plays Scrabble? Well, he tweeted a particular picture of a Scrabble board, and he insisted that the word Covfefe, C-O-V-F-E-F-E, exists, and it's a real word, and it's in the dictionary. So there we go. There's some presidential authority on it. But one music geek has now found an answer to his enigmatic tweet, because social media this week was set ablaze by a hitherto unknown word that made it into a tweet sent out by Mr. Donald Trump. I think he's been trumped himself by it. Yes, the Covfefe tweet happened yesterday. Already there's T-shirts, there's brand memes, and an entry into the Urban Dictionary. You just got to love Twitter for all of that. So whilst many people around the world picked up their smartphones and submitted possible definitions for the new word, composer Peter Underhill instead put pen to paper and he penned a new song. He took the musical note from Trump's now famous word Covfefe, using C-F-E-F-E as a musical subject for a smart little aspect of composition and somewhat in the style of Bach Bravo, and it was a fine topical counterpoint to what was happening on social media. Of course, everyone wanted to hear this performed as soon as they could, so off they went down to the Guildhall Hall School of Music in London, and some people enlisted the help of a postgraduate piano student and a Michigan native called Jason Gong. Here's the lyric or the song now that's called Covfefe, and we're going to listen to that here. Have fun. And that was the Fugeta Covfefe doing its rounds around the world. Very, very humorous. Of course, I can only think at this moment in terms of our president had made one of his wonderful, unique remarks that he would do every couple of minutes, that somebody around the world would have put an amazing dance song and we would have had some Kwaito, hip-hop and street music, and the words would be like Covfefe, Covfefe. It would be quite amazing to do all of that. But yeah, between South Africa and the US, well, I suppose we have SA and in the USA. We all have our problems and they seem to be pretty unique to that particular situation. But it's quite funny that somebody can take something and try and make something beautiful out of it. Although I'm not sure if that was worthy of a postgraduate piano student's composition. More like a child playing some pianos on some level. But what the heck? That's my opinion only. And my opinion is really mine. I'm sure you've got yours. Please share it with us. And of course, you can go online and download that wonderful piece of, well, don't bother. There we go. Right, so our sister, Jeanette Marie, tells us all about sacred exhaustion. She's posted something up from a beautiful teacher called Jeff Foster, and he says that your tiredness has dignity to it. Do not rush to pathologize it or push it away, for it may contain great intelligence, even medicine. You have been in a long journey from the stars, friend. Bow before your tiredness now and do not fight it any longer. There is no shame in admitting that you cannot go on. Even the courageous need to rest, for a great journey lies ahead, and you will need all of your resources. Come sit by the fire of presence. Let the body unwind. Drop into the silence here. Forget about tomorrow. Let go of the journey to come and sink into this evening's warmth. Every great adventure is fueled by rest at its heart. Your tiredness is noble, friend, and contains healing power, if you would only listen. And that was by Jeff Foster and posted by our sister Jeanette Marie. Again, up in the Arctic Circle. You guys are doing so well there, and thank you for sharing with love everything that goes on. Almin says, in a recent post that came up, I think today on Almin Diary, it's entitled The Love of Money and Security, and in brackets, misdirected value system, something very close to me and Nico at the moment in terms of things that we are having discussions about and looking at, and just really letting things unfold and fully trusting the particular process as we let go of a lot of the aspects of the old that are no longer working for us, but we know will be a gift for those that are taking those processes, because they'll be able to see it with new eyes, because there is value in every single thing that we do and experience. So Almin had a question posed to her, and the question from someone says, a lady with excess weight tripped and fell face first in front of us. Other than a few scrapes and a bleeding nose, she was fine. Do you see a deeper message in any of this? Almin says, people will want to hoard money and supplies because of wobbly global finances. They will get tripped up by the damming up of resources. Their love for money and security is indicative of misdirected value systems. The nosebleed points out that blood symbolizes love, but pouring out, it means it's directed at the wrong thing. So read your environment, people. Once again, Almina is sharing with us the depth of what is going on there. So on November 16th, 2013, a chant that Almin does called the Chant of Atonement with the alphabet of the angel gods was published, and it was in anticipation of the Nights of the Angels on Ascension Net, part 1 of 3 of the Chant of Atonement by the seer Almin. It was channeling her mystical vision of the battle between angel gods and dragons. This macrocosmic battle reflects the microcosmic suppression of our nervous system, or angels, by mind, dragons, and the consequent denial of the realities of magic and the impetus to break this tyranny. And this chant is accompanied by the alphabet of the angel gods, or Escargots, as featured in Almin's course Divinity Quest and Mastering the Tool of the Gods. So why we are bringing this in now is because when we look at the macrocosmic and the microcosmic processes going on in this last weekend's course of Activating the Portals of Limitlessness, there is a beautiful diagram there of the orders of angels governed by the angel gods, and this is going back to 2013, and a lot of this is coming up now where the 99 angelic orders of the magical kingdom started to actually start functioning and working together. And I know at that particular time there was an aspect of fighting the dragons. So I think it's a very, very good time for us to come listen to this again. We'll just have a few short minutes of it and just use this time for meditation and being together, breathing deeply and just allowing the love of what is coming out and letting yourself be whoever you are at this particular moment. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Priya
And welcome back to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa's show for the 1st of June 2017. Thank you for being with us. There we were listening to Almeen's channeling and really sharing her experience of what's called the Chant of Atonement as we work to balance the nervous system and the mental spheres of the mind. And while we are playing that, because if we look at the theme of the show of respect existence or expect resistance, and we look at some of the opening comments where Almeen talks about the resistance to evolution from within, we are finding that the nerve endings on the body seem to be under some kind of obstruction or some kind of an outbreak, some kind of attack perhaps. And we are likening this about the comment that Almeen put up today about becoming impervious to mind control, is that the body is trying very, very hard to function and work and adjust to a higher frequency. But then, of course, what she was talking about, the deliberate programming of what she sees and is experiencing is coming from outside the quarantined earth fields, coming in from these reptilian creatures. So it would be interesting to see what your experience is, what you are dealing with in terms of it. But, you know, the authenticity of our light family around the world is amazing, because we all post really what we are seeing in the most mature and beautiful individual way, and everybody responds to it, not in terms of we need to help, but in terms of sharing and understanding and just knowing that we are all in oneness together at this particular point. So it's really fascinating just watching all of that really going on, and how everybody just shares that particular experience. But some of your posts have been talking about, you know, the skin and some of the situations that are going on a physical level, and all the things like some people experiencing illness for a long time, going to doctors, etc., etc. Absolutely incredible watching all of that going on. And a reminder that as masters, as God beings walking on the planet, we have all the tools, we have everything that is available to us. We just need to actually apply it and use it and not resist the actual change that comes from within all of that. So I think there's lots of incredible work for all of us to really look at and work with as we're going along. So the beautiful spiritualist and teacher, philosopher Rumi says, why struggle to open a door between us when the whole wall is an illusion? Isn't that beautiful? So just to remind you that as we are closing down the show for today, just the last little bits of Living a Life with No Limitation tells us, the last few parts of it, it says, sweep now space, for sacred it is, the benevolent playground of the Holy One. And that leads into the next point. Unravel now the fabric of time without emotion, see the end of the thread. And then what we get is the configuration of the 1,440 angelic orders within created life. And that's what we're talking about, the part of the work against the dragons as the angelic army stood up and reformed and reconfigured. But the last bit is the Arcturian prophecy, second, Nenserak Hespi Ershpa Neneret. A call to the angel gods to guard the sacred space of high alchemy that is our cosmos. The 7 levels of life within our cosmos are surrounded by an impenetrable shield when their hearts are filled with praise, love, gratitude, and trust for the embodiment of the infinite. And that really highlights where we're going along the way. Trust in yourself. Do not resist what is going on. Understand that your role in existence is paramount to all transformation and change. And all you need to do is remain happy, remain content within yourself, and continue to do the work that the Seer Almeen provides to us on just an incredibly flowing rate, faster and faster, as we all lift and raise our frequency. We are not here to save. We are just here to be who we are, and let that doing and beingness just step into oneness as we manifest a life of love, of praise, of gratitude, and as we surrender to the trust that existence is teaching us. I'd like to say thank you to Nico for handling our sound desk tonight as usual. Superb job. Thank you very much, Nico. Thank you to Diane. Thank you to the team. Thank you to each one of our light family. Thank you to the Seer Almeen, and of course to the wonderful, beautiful, exhilarating, awesome expression of the infinite being as each one of us opens up to experiencing it more and more. May your week be blessed. Look out for the beautiful prophecies of the week, the Almin rune of the week for the week 5th to the 11th, profoundly in tune with where we're at the moment. We will send that out shortly, and we just like to say thank you. Stay with us, follow us, and good night from Belvaspata, South Africa, and a cold Johannesburg. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Radio Belvaspata, South Africa. Thank you for listening and sharing in our discussion. Should you have any questions with regards to the healing modality of Belvaspata or have any healing needs, please send us an email to info@belvaspata.co.za or add comments to our page on Spreaker.com so we can work on providing a suitable response. We now close this episode with the eternal ascension qualities of love, praise, gratitude and trust, and look forward to sharing again with you next week. Goodbye.